Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and this is the all-new Samsung Galaxy A17. Well, relatively new. Here's why. So this phone has been out for a while in the international market, but it's now just making its way to the US market. So here's what you need to know. So beginning with the design itself, so they did make some changes compared to the previous generation. So the previous generation had a glossy back which caught a lot of fingerprints, so instead they opted for a matte finish. It seems like every year they kind of change their mind. So one year they go with glossy, the next they go with matte, but that's here or there. And you only get two colors with the kind of US model, so you get this black version and a blue version. That's it. No other ecstatic colors. The price of the device will start at $199, which is similar to also the previous generation, but you can get it actually now for $169 at the Samsung's website. So I guess they're having a promotion in that. The camera system here is a triple camera setup that follows the same design as something like a Galaxy A26 or even something like a Galaxy A36, which gives it an elevated look in my opinion. Okay. So if you look at the right hand side, you will get your side fingerprint sensor / power button, as well as your power up and down with this sort of indentation that they've used in the past generations. And overall though, from a design perspective, it's a decent upgrade, but it's nothing too crazy or too dramatic. Now on the bottom you will have your USB-C that does support 25 watt of fast charging, as well as your speaker. On the front you will get the same display as the previous generation, so it's a 6.7-inch AMOLED display, and it does support 90 Hz of refresh rate. In addition to that, you get 800 nits of peak brightness. Now I'm not really too mad at the display because for $170 you get a solid display. And really this is basically the highlight of the Galaxy A17, which is again the display. More on that in my full review, but overall though, from a display perspective, a lot of people would be happy with this technology. 1080p AMOLED display, 90 Hz refresh rate. Way better than that 720p display that Motorola has provided us with the Moto G. Alright, so next in my conversation was going to be the performance, and this is going to be the part where Samsung would again let us down. So here's the deal. They really did not change much from the performance perspective. So you still get the same Exynos 1330 based on an octa-core chip. It is smaller, which is a 5nm architecture. You also only max out at 4GB of RAM, which is not a lot considering what AI brings to the table. OS, the operating system from Android, brings to the table is just 4 gigs of RAM is almost unacceptable in nowadays. And you also again still get 5G connectivity, 5000 milliamp hour battery, but nothing too dramatic. No wireless charging capability, only maxes out at 25 watt of fast charging. So the performance, again, I don't think a lot of people would be happy about it, but it's a $199 device. Next up is the camera conversation. So you still get a triple camera setup. From what I've seen in the changes, other than the design or the way that the camera cutout looks, the biggest thing that they've made is adding optical image stabilization to the main sensor, which is a really good addition. Couple of reasons why. The first being is your pictures will come out a little bit sharper than they would in the previous generation, which is good. As far as I'm concerned, you also get an ultra wide sensor, which adds that ultra wide field of view that a lot of people love, but it's going to be at a lower resolution, which is the same 5 megapixel from the previous generation. You also get a 2 megapixel macro sensor, and I would say that the biggest takeaway is that now with optical image stabilization you'll be able to take better pictures and slightly better video capability. Speaking of, you only max out at 1080p as far as video is concerned, so even in this generation you don't get 4K, which again, I think when people are buying this phone, they're not going to be looking at the best of the best in terms of the camera or even the performance. I'm still a little bit disappointed on the performance. I feel like they should have just upped it a little bit more. But overall though, from my first impressions, it's again nothing too crazy. They did make some changes, but I wouldn't run to the store and get this phone if you have the Galaxy A16. Now, I will be making more content and more videos about it, especially comparing it to other devices within the same price point to see how it stacks against those phones. And if you're in the market for a phone that is under $200 right now, then this is going to be a somewhat of a reliable option. Are there phones that are better at a similar price point? Maybe, but we'll see. I'll make my video. I'll see how I'll give this phone its fair shot. I'll test it out, see how it pans out, and then I'll make a more in-depth review. So stay tuned for that. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate you all, and make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one.